may have heard about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, but did you know that the true hidden sins of these two cities run much deeper than what we often think? Let's explore the little-known sins that sparked God's wrath, leading to the most severe punishment in history. Don't take your eyes off this video, because as we delve into the shocking truth behind Sodom and Gomorrah, you'll see that the lessons from thousands of years ago are still relevant for our lives today. Let's begin this journey. Abraham, considered the father of many nations, is a significant figure in both the Bible and religious history. He was chosen by God, receiving the promise of a great lineage and a promised land, even though he was advanced in age and had no children. With strong faith and reverence for God, Abraham became a symbol of loyalty and absolute obedience. In this story, we witness Abraham calmly standing in front of his house under the scorching sun. Suddenly, he noticed the presence of three strangers from afar and immediately ran out to greet them, leaving his home with a heart full of hospitality. Bowing respectfully, he said, "If it pleases you, allow me the honor of offering some hospitality before you continue your journey. Let me bring water for you to wash your feet and rest under the shade of a tree. I also wish to offer some bread to strengthen you for your journey." The guests gratefully accepted Abraham's invitation, and he quickly directed his servants to do what was needed. He hurried into the house, asking Sarah, his wife, to quickly prepare 3 fine meals from the best flour. Without hesitation, Abraham kneaded the dough and made bread himself. Then he ran to the herd, choosing a healthy young calf, and gave it to a servant to prepare. He didn't forget to set out fresh curds and prepared meat, bringing everything to serve the guests under the cool shade of the trees. Not long after, the guests turned their attention to Sarah, Abraham's wife. When asked, Abraham replied that she was inside the tent. One of them made an unexpected prophecy. "Be assured, at this time next year I will return, and Sarah, your wife, will bear a son." Sarah, listening behind the tent door, could not help but laugh quietly. At that point, both Abraham and Sarah were old, and Sarah had long passed the age of childbearing. This prophecy made her skeptical, wondering if such a miracle could happen when both were so advanced in age and the joy of motherhood seemed out of reach. Then the Lord asked Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh, doubting the possibility of bearing a child at her age? Is there anything too hard for me, your Lord, to accomplish? At the appointed time next year I will return, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah, surprised and afraid, denied that she had laughed, but the Lord firmly stated, "No, you did laugh." After that, the guests rose and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham saw them off. In his mind, the Lord considered whether to reveal to Abraham what was about to happen. He thought about how Abraham was destined to become the father of a great nation, and that through him all nations on earth would be blessed. Abraham was chosen to instruct his children and household to follow the way of the Lord, to live in righteousness and justice, so that the Lord could fulfill the promises he made to him. The Lord then revealed that the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah had grown too great to ignore, and the sins committed by the people of these cities were extremely grievous. He decided to go down personally to see if the actions of the inhabitants were as bad as the outcry that had reached him. If not, he would know. Then the two men turned away and went towards Sodom, while Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Abraham stepped forward and pleaded with the Lord, "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really destroy the city and not spare it for the sake of the 50 righteous people in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous and the wicked alike. Will not the judge of all the earth do right?" The Lord answered, "If I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole city for their sake." With humility, Abraham continued, "I am but dust and ashes, yet I dare to speak to my Lord. What if the number of the righteous is 5 less than 50? Will you destroy the whole city because of 5 people?" The Lord answered, "If I find 45 righteous people there, I will not destroy it." Abraham persisted, "What if only 40 are found there?" The Lord replied, "For the sake of 40, I will not destroy it." Abraham, with deep respect, continued, "What if only 30 righteous people are found?" The Lord assured him, "I will not destroy the city if I find 30 righteous people." Abraham spoke again, "May the Lord not be angry, but let me speak once more. What if only 20 can be found there?" The Lord said, For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it." Finally, Abraham gently said, "What if only 10 righteous people can be found?" The Lord replied, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy the city." After finishing his prayer, the Lord departed, and Abraham returned to his place. This was a heartfelt plea from Abraham for the people of Sodom, reflecting his deep compassion and trust in God's mercy. The core of this story lies in the question of justice. Though God clearly has absolute power to do whatever he wishes, the real contemplation here is whether he acts justly. God's responses to Abraham's pleas are the answer to this challenging question. Interestingly, God had 2 reasons for revealing his plan. First, all nations would be blessed through Abraham, so he informed him that the city of Sodom would be destroyed before Abraham received those blessings. Second, Abraham had the responsibility to teach his children and his household about righteousness and justice, so they could continue to enjoy God's blessings. If the wickedness of the city's inhabitants had reached its peak, God's judgment would be inevitable. Abraham was convinced that there were still righteous people in Sodom, and so he prayed based on God's justice. This prayer demonstrated the greatness of his character. Abraham did not only ask for the righteous to be spared, but he also prayed for the wicked in the city, hoping that they too would be forgiven because of the presence of the righteous. Earlier, he had saved these same people during a battle. Now he prayed for them again with the same courage, persistence, and compassion that he showed when he fought for them. While many readers may be surprised by how Abraham negotiated with God, his prayer was always offered with humility and sincere respect. Abraham was not trying to convince God to go against his will, but rather he was pleading for justice and salvation for the city of Sodom, as he proposed conditions of 50, 45, 40, 30, 20, and even just 10 righteous people. In contrast, Lot's plea for Zoar carried a different tone. This highlighted the theme of justice and blessings from God, emphasizing the importance of fairness and mercy in the story. These lessons were not only for Israel, but also touched the heart of Abraham, who transformed them into a compassionate prayer. In Genesis 19, we witness a significant moment. At dusk, 2 angels arrived in Sodom and found Lot sitting at the city gate. When he saw them, he immediately rose to greet them and bowed down with respect, saying, "Please, come to my house to stay the night, wash your feet, and you can continue your journey in the morning." Initially, the angels declined, saying they would stay in the square, but after Lot's insistence, they agreed and went to his house, where he prepared a feast with wine and unleavened bread. They shared the meal before resting. The men of the city, both young and old from all parts of Sodom, gathered around Lot's house, demanding that he bring out the guests so they could know them in an intimate way. In response, Lot stepped out to meet them, shutting the door behind him as he tried to protect his guests. He even offered his 2 virgin daughters in place of the strange men, begging the crowd not to commit such a heinous crime. This scene not only exposes the extreme depravity of the people of Sodom, but it also highlights the importance of hospitality and the duty to protect guests in the culture of that time. It also shows Lot's desperate effort to uphold those values, even in the face of danger. Shortly after, the guests, who were actually angels, pulled Lot back into the house and locked the door. They struck the crowd outside with blindness, from the youngest to the oldest, so that they stumbled around in confusion, unable to find the door. Then the angels asked Lot if he had any other family members in Sodom, including sons, daughters, or anyone else, instructing him to take them out of the city. They explained that the Lord had sent them to destroy Sodom because the outcry against the city had reached heaven and could no longer be ignored. Lot hurried to find his future sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters, and warned them, "Hurry and get out of this place because the Lord is about to destroy the city." But his future sons-in-law thought he was joking and paid no attention. As dawn broke, the angels urged Lot, "Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." But Lot hesitated, and in the Lord's mercy, because of Abraham, the angels grasped his hand, his wife's hand, and his daughter's hands, leading them safely out of the city before the destruction began. As they fled the city, one of the angels warned, "Flee for your lives, don't look back and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away." This moment emphasized the urgency and seriousness of the situation in Sodom, while also demonstrating the great mercy of God toward Lot and his family, giving them a chance to escape the impending destruction. But Lot pleaded with the angel, "No, my lord, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness in sparing my life, but I cannot flee to the mountains. The disaster will overtake me, and I will die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared." The angel said to him, "Very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it." That is why the town was called Zoar, which means small. The angels had to pull Lot and his family out of the city, revealing Lot's hesitation even as destruction loomed. The next morning, the Lord showed mercy by saving Lot because of Abraham's prayer. However, Lot still requested further concessions from the angels, asking to take refuge in the small town of Zoar after being rescued. This scene serves as a powerful reminder to the people of Israel about Lot's hesitation and his need to be brought to safety. It raises the question, why are some of God's people still bound to a corrupt world, instead of fleeing from a society destined for destruction? When Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the horizon. At that moment, the Lord rained down sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from the heavens. He completely destroyed the cities, the valley, all the inhabitants, and the surrounding land. Lot's wife, disobeying the warning, looked back at Sodom out of curiosity and was immediately turned into a pillar of salt. The next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. Looking towards Sodom, Gomorrah, and the entire region of the Dead Sea Valley, he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. When God destroyed the cities of the plain, including Sodom, he remembered Abraham and saved Lot, Abraham's nephew, from the catastrophe as he overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. In this devastating destruction, the Lord burned the wicked cities and the surrounding land with burning sulfur. Some believe that sulfur deposits exploded from the ground and rained down from the sky in terrifying flames. Lot's wife, tempted to look back, became a pillar of salt, symbolizing disobedience. The sulfur fire produced thick smoke that Abraham saw from afar. Though the Lord judged the wicked in the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham and saved Lot in response to his prayer. Lot, after living for some time in Zoar, grew afraid and decided to leave the city, taking his 2 daughters to live in a cave in the mountains. One day, the older daughter said to her younger sister, "Our father is old, and there is no man on earth to marry us in the usual way and have children. Let's get our father drunk, and we will lie with him to preserve our family line through him." That night they made their father drink wine, and the older daughter lay with him. Lot, because he was drunk, was completely unaware when she lay down or when she got up. The next day the older daughter said to her younger sister, "I lay with our father last night. Tonight we will get him drunk again, and you will lie with him to preserve our family line." They did the same thing the next night. After making their father drink wine, the younger daughter lay with him, and once again he was unaware when she lay down or when she got up. In this way, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter gave birth to a son and named him Moab, meaning "from the father," who became the ancestor of the Moabites. The younger daughter also gave birth to a son and named him Ben-Ami, meaning "son of my kin," who became the ancestor of the Ammonites. This story records what happened in the cave on the mountain, where Lot and his 2 daughters took refuge. Though initially afraid to flee to the mountains and seeking shelter in Zoar, Lot ironically ended up leaving Zoar to live in a cave on the mountain, a stark contrast to the advanced civilization of Sodom where he had once lived. Believing their chances of remarriage were slim, Lot's daughters, whose fiancés had died, each got their father drunk and slept with him. This act of incest reflects the corrupting influence of Sodom's debased culture on them. As a result, they gave birth to Moab and Ben-Ami, the ancestors of 2 nations that later became long-standing enemies of Israel. The name Moab means "from the father," and Ben-Ami means "son of my kin," 2 names that forever remind Israel of the shameful origin of these enemies. This story not only records God's judgment on a morally corrupt Canaanite civilization, but also serves as a stern warning. Lot's story is a testament to the complexity of human nature and the challenges of living in a society that does not reflect moral values. Although Lot is portrayed as a righteous, hospitable, and generous man, even a leader in the Sodom community, his life there highlights the difficulty of maintaining personal morality in a corrupt environment. Lot tried to maintain his dignity by advising the people to live better and seek justice, but he was constantly tormented by the wicked behavior around him, as mentioned in 2 Peter 2:7-8. Though he condemned the lifestyle of Sodom, Lot was still drawn to the prosperity and comfort of that society, trading the simplicity and righteousness that life in the mountains could offer. In Genesis 13:10-11, Lot was captivated by the beauty and fertility of the Jordan Valley, a land rich with water before the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah occurred. This choice marked the beginning of Lot's deeper attachment to Sodom, revealing how Sodom's values gradually took over his life. The arrival of the angels marked a pivotal turning point, revealing the hypocrisy in Lot's life. Though he appeared to be righteous, his words were not taken seriously. Despite being fully aware of the grievous sins around him, ironically, Lot was willing to sacrifice his own daughters to protect his guests from the men of Sodom. This act exposed the deep conflict between the principles Lot believed in and the choices he made under pressure. Lot's story serves as a wake-up call about complacency and hypocrisy, emphasizing the importance of living true to one's values, even when faced with temptation and trials. Lot escaped judgment by the grace of God, but his heart remained tied to Sodom. His wife couldn't let go of the city and was turned into a pillar of salt for looking back. His daughters, influenced by the culture of Sodom, didn't hesitate to sleep with their father after getting him drunk. In the end, Lot couldn't have both. If God hadn't destroyed Sodom, Sodom would have destroyed him. This story revolves around 4 key themes: God's swift judgment on the Canaanites, Lot's attachment to a corrupt society, Lot's merciful salvation, and the repetition of sin in the cave. Israel can learn that God's severe judgment is entirely just in the face of grievous sins. They can also learn the foolishness of being drawn into the sins of the Canaanites. Knowing that God judged the Canaanites, it is essential to live righteously. The simple lesson is, do not love the world or anything in it, for the world and its desires will pass away. 1 John 2:15-17. Under God's judgment, attachment to a corrupt world is dangerous, as it will be swiftly destroyed. When teaching his disciples about the coming destruction, Jesus reminded them of Lot's wife and the destruction of Sodom. "Remember Lot's wife," he said. "Whoever tries to keep their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life will preserve it." Luke 17:32-33. Those who seek the best of this world will lose everything, for the world will be destroyed and life after will also be lost. Luke 17:33-37. Jesus also said that if he had performed the miracles in Sodom that he had in Capernaum, the people of Sodom would have repented long ago. Matthew 11:23, showing that God judges based on one's knowledge, and physical destruction is not the worst punishment for sinners. Reflecting on the story of Lot and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, we are reminded of the power of faith and the need to stand firm against the temptations of the world. God judges the wicked, but he also always offers a path to salvation for those who repent and return to him. Let this story be a powerful reminder that we must live according to God's values, not allowing our hearts to be drawn to the world, and always keeping a steadfast faith in life. If you feel encouraged by this message, don't forget to click like and share it with your friends and family. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any new content. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below about what impressed you most in the story of Lot and how we can live a righteous life in a world full of temptations. Thank God for his teachings that guide us through the trials of life. See you in the next video, where we will continue to explore deeper lessons from the Bible. Until then, may God bless you and your family.